What's going on, Omnibuddies? Mitch here, and today we are doing an overview. What are we looking at? Well, we are looking at one of the very first graphic novels that Ed Piskor made. We're looking at WIZZYWIG. All right, so first things first, like I said, this is one of the first real comics that Ed Piskor did, especially by himself. I know he was involved in a bunch of other things leading up to it and all that. And he's actually more well known for a lot of other stuff. X-Men Grand Design, the Hip Hop Family Tree is one of the big ones that he's super well known for. And honestly, it's hard to do an overview of Piskor without mentioning, you know, like at least as of the making of this video, like the events of him passing away and all of that kind of stuff. So it's sad overall, especially when I hadn't really followed him until all that news broke, and I knew a lot of people who absolutely loved his work and loved his YouTube channel. I hadn't watched it much. I hadn't followed his work much, honestly. And sadly, after he passed away, I was like, man, I really should jump into some of his work and try it out. So I jumped into Hip Hop Family Tree. It's really cool. Not exactly for me personally. It's a really, really cool piece of history, though, in the story that it's telling of hip hop, and a piece of history in that how much work went into it and how great of a job Piskor did with it. But the book that really hit me hard was WIZZYWIG. And you know what? Let's stop talking about it here. Let's get it down on the table and talk about it a little bit more there. So this is WIZZYWIG by Ed Piskor. It was written and drawn by Piskor. It is published by Top Shelf. So there is that wonderful, very colorful spine. Here's a shot of the back. So yeah, there you go. And there you go. I love, personally, the design of this. It looks like one of those super old, I think, Apple computers, something like that. But yeah, looks like one of the super old computers. I don't know. You can correct me if I'm wrong, whatever. But I love the design of this book personally. Super cool. So this came out in about 2012, and it was basically 3 webcomics kind of a thing that was then collected together. And then years later, a little while later, after volumes 1, 2, and 3 came out, Piskor then came out with a kind of 4th follow-up volume, and Top Shelf collected it all together right here. So this is the complete edition of WIZZYWIG. So I gotta say, like, I absolutely love good end sheets and end papers in books. And so when they do art on it, great. When it's art that is interesting and coincides with the book, fantastic. And that's what this is, like all the electronic chips kind of things going on in there, all the conductors and all the things. Yeah, so all the computer things. So this is the book, and dedicated to you, the reader, because you are literally and figuratively holding my past, my present, and my future in the palms of your hand. It's a little bit different now that Piskor has passed away and left us. But yeah, so this follows the character of Kevin Phenicle Jr., or Boingthump as he goes online. And yeah, so I love this. It kind of comes back, starts with, and then comes back to this whole like word on the street talking about Boingthump and these characters and what's going on, to kind of give it a historical context. Really cool, really interesting way of doing this, to kind of set the context, set the stage for it. And then you basically get right into, what's a computer hacker, all of that. And it kind of goes into all these different things. And then it jumps into a young Kevin and his friend. and they are very nerdy. Before being a nerd was cool, and they're bullied, and yeah. And so dealing with this kind of a life and growing up being bullied and just wanting to kind of nerd out and do your own thing, I can definitely relate in a lot of ways with that. But yeah, man, it's very simple, very simplistic paneling with this, where it's just, I mean, you can see like all of these panels are basically nearly exactly the same. And I mean, as we go through, like, it does change up a little bit here and there and does some different stuff, but man, it is really consistent in the panel and page structure of this, which normally would kind of bother me, but with this story, it's so methodical and step by step through it that it really does make sense with it. And oh man, I I have a hard time talking about this story because it's so interesting, and just a lot of it, like the actual kinds of, ooh, my light went out, the actual like methodology behind, move the light over here, behind this whole thing, in how they are hacking and getting into the computers and doing all these, like, as it's called, phone phreaking, where they can make whistle tones or reenact, I want to say, the tones of the phone to then get the phone to make long distance calls for free. And just the developing subculture of this type of nerd and geek and computer hacker, that there's just this deep subculture that most people will never know about. But you're basically introduced to this young Kevin and his friend, and Kevin is able to do things like, obviously, pick the lock of a trunk and get into things and do things. And then they interview his friends and people that knew him online, and just the hearsay and the rumors of who Boingthump is, and really cool storytelling. And then they go back to Off Your Rocker with Winston Smith, and he's telling this story, all these different stories of what's going on through a radio commentary type situation. And really cool way of doing things, and jumping around, and Kevin in and out of prison, and dealing with life and people that really don't understand him and really understand what he's doing, and really have the like full scope of the implications of what he can do, and like and then just the lead up in his life to why he even wants to do this, or how to do it. It is such a cool story, and you kind of feel for the guy, but you're also just very, like, a lot of times just off put by him as a character, because in some ways he's relatable, but in other ways you're like, dang dude, like, get it get it together. But I know that's how life is. Life is messy, and Kevin's life is messy, but the one thing that is stable in his life is computers, and the ability to use them past their fullest intended extent. And he is just a prodigy with that. And when he lives this hard life, and then all of a sudden he's gifted a computer, and hot dang, he is just able to live a life like that. But it goes into not just his life with the computers, but his dating life, his inability to speak to the opposite gender, or really connect with very many people on a deep level beyond just probably using them. He does have his basically one friend, and then his friends online, but he lives a pretty difficult life, just being bullied like that, and then he finds his escape in what he's able to do and these people who else he's able to meet online. And it's a very, very like a long, like it doesn't take long to read this book. It's not very thick, but it's a long tale in that it talks from a very young age to kind of when he's through his years growing up, and as he becomes an older adult. And so it does follow that whole timeline as he's slowly getting older, learning new things, diving into new things, and getting himself deeper and deeper into this world, and getting more and more carefree and cavalier with how he goes about doing things, and avoiding the law and taunting the law. Really great stuff. And you can see they do switch up the paneling a little bit more. Now they're not doing the 3x3 panel sequences. This is a 4x3, and then back, and a little bit different with the text up top and things. But and it does jump around a little bit, but for the most part it stays very consistent. I will say this is not a young reader friendly. It's a mature one with language, and does deal with sexuality and all that kind of stuff too, and there is nudity and drug and all that kind of use in here too, but it is real life, and so it's so it's dealing with real life, and so it's very real in that it doesn't glorify necessarily anything over the other, but it does just kind of tell that story in the real life. So it does track it, this whole story, like I said, going from young to old, but also from the perspective of technology and the internet, going from like pre-internet to phones and long distance, and hacking those to, getting a computer and the internet and forums and all that kind of stuff to, as he grows up, so does technology and the internet, and he grows up with it, and he is on the cutting edge of it, and dealing with, is he going to stay with what he's passionate about with this, even though it might make him a fugitive or wanted by the law enforcement, or is he going to settle down and socially with and be able to keep and maintain healthy relationships. It's a very interesting story, and you feel bad for the guy, but also it's one of those things where it's like, come on, dude, just stop it. Like, get it together. You kind of just want to grab him, shake him by the shoulders, but you can't do that because he's a comic character. But I will say it's very compelling. I think I read this book over the course of 2 or 3 days, and it was very compelling. I had a really, really, really hard time putting this book down. And I will say, speaking of the book itself, like now that we're about at the middle of it, really nice binding, sewn, got a great eye hole. I think I stretched it once or twice. I read it once, and now I'm here looking at it, and man, it is a really nice lay flat. And yeah, and these pages are very, very good quality, matte, thick. You're not seeing through anything or anything like that. Gorgeous product by Top Shelf. Yeah, great stuff. But yeah, so that's basically the lead up in WIZZYWIG. It's what you see is what you get. That's what WIZZYWIG is. And you really do get that throughout this book. What you see is what you get. You see Kevin doing things, and you follow right along with him. And there's nothing, too hidden about it. And you're just kind of wondering, they're playing this cat and mouse game of, will he get caught or won't he? It's very, very similar in kind of feel with that, as if you've seen the movie or know the story of Catch Me If You Can. Has a very, very good feel with that. Very similar vibe, I should say. And as you can see, the entire thing is black and white, but as a comic reader I have no qualms with black and white. You're never, there's a lot of grayscale in here, so it's not just like stark black and stark white. There's a lot of tones and shadowing and all that stuff going on. I really dug Piskor's art in this. Really nice stuff. Really gorgeous work. And yeah, like, look at the emotion in these faces. So good. Just so good. Love the art. There's good, funny, interesting takes in here. The emotions on the characters, the body language, how they, perspectives in here, like Grace like hunched over, like just walking all wonky, and like but the perspectives in here and following the path of the character and all that. Really gorgeous work. Really, really beautiful. Yeah, and I will say, like I said before, it's a full story. It's from beginning to end, and it has a lot of really great heart, and you really feel for many of these characters, his friend and Kevin himself and his family. Really feel for them all. You can really see where they're coming from, and as the law closes in and all of that. Really cool stuff. Really enjoyed it. I need to go back to this story and read it again because it was so enjoyable. And then you got a nice little, not many extra, really no extras in here. I don't want to show the last page because, that sucks and I hate spoiling. I just really want to give a vibe, a feel, general idea of the story, whereas I'm not giving away too many major plot points or anything like that, because that's not fun and that's not what I like to do. You got a great little about the author on Piskor here and some more end sheets, which are gorgeous again. And then you got the back and the spine again. But that is WIZZYWIG, and what you see is what you get. All right, so that was a quick flip through, look at, discussion on WIZZYWIG. Honestly, I think this is probably one of the most accessible books by Piskor that's out there, because X-Men, you might be able to just jump into it and all that, but it's gonna, it has history. It has a lot of stuff going on with it. And Hip Hop Family Tree, if you're not into the hip hop scene or a very historically dense, very long book, that might not be for you either, even though it is a really cool book overall, that's for sure. So I think one of the most accessible books is WIZZYWIG, because you can pick it up, you can read it, you can really get a feel for Piskor and how he writes comics, draws them, tells story, and all of that. It's a really, really great one and done book that you can grab and not worry about having to have all that past history and historical context, or dealing with a book that is fully engrossed in history. I know he's done a lot of other stuff too. Definitely check out the Comics KFAB channel and see all of those crazy cool videos and discussions that they do there. But if you are at all interested in Piskor and his body of work, I would say that WIZZYWIG is the absolute best place for most people who at least may not have a Marvel and X-Men past, or like I said before, are super interested in the hip-hop scene and the history of it. Definitely a really cool thing. I had heard, I listened to a lot of science and history podcasts, and I had actually heard of phone phreaking, which is what they go into a ton in this book. I'd actually heard of that and listened to a whole podcast on it. So it's super interesting to see that study from a podcast that I had heard, then applied and told in a narrative story like this. Really cool concept, really interesting, because it's actually, it actually happened. It's not just fantasy make-believe or anything like that. This stuff, these types of hackers all happen. So it was it's that Catch Me If You Can meets kind of a Social Network kind of vibe a little bit, but a little bit kind of a lot of stupidity that happens in it. So maybe if you've seen the movie like I, Tonya, where it's just like this comical unfolding of events because people keep making bad choices and doing crazy, weird things. Really cool book. I really enjoyed it. I definitely encourage you to go out, try and track it down, find it, whether it's on eBay, if you can find it on Amazon, or if you can find it at a third-party bookstore somewhere or something like that. Definitely check out WIZZYWIG. It's a great binding. It's a great little hardcover. It's not very expensive as of now, at least. So go out there and check it out. But that's it. Don't forget to like, subscribe, hit the bell for notification, do all of those things. But the most important thing to do is comment. So let me know in the comments. You can either let me know what your favorite Ed Piskor book is, or you can let me know what your favorite historical book is. So it deals with something that actually happened in history. Let me know. And if you are looking for a great place to discuss comics and expand your horizons on what you've been reading, or expand your horizons on what you hear about and discussions with different people, or to buy, sell, and trade comics, make sure to hit up the Omnibuds Cafe on Facebook. They also have an Instagram page, but it is a great Facebook group where you can do all those discussion things and buy, sell, trade, and just find out some good news from all over the internet too on comics. So definitely check out the Omnibuds Cafe. All right, that's it. Take care. Stay cool.